Hey, good evening, church. Again, my name's Josh. I'm a volunteer here at New Vintage with this week's devotional. And this time I chose the title Even If. Even If is the title that came to me from reading Daniel chapter 3. And that's what we'll be reading today. So if you have your Bibles, turn to Daniel chapter 3. It's near the end of the Old Testament, and it's right after Ezekiel. And once you get there, I'll start reading, and I'll kind of tell you guys what's going on. As you see, we're out back on my patio. It's a beautiful summer night. It's probably like 80 degrees outside near sunset, so perfect time to get alone with my Bible. But in Daniel, what we have here is that the Jews have been taken from their land by King Nebuchadnezzar, and they've been taken to Babylon, a foreign country. They've been taken against their will, and so they're under this ruler. And Nebuchadnezzar is very full of himself, and he's building an idol, and he's telling all the Jews that they must worship this idol. Now, King Nebuchadnezzar is all-powerful. Like, he's equivalent to Alexander the Great. You know, he's a huge conqueror of lands and of people, and to question his power is certain death. So that's where the Jews find themselves. And Daniel's in his favor, but the other Jews are not. So, opening up to Daniel chapter 3, let's read. So, King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide. That's about 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. He then summoned the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials to come in dedication of the image he had set up. So satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, and all the people came to worship the image that Nebuchadnezzar put before them. Then the herald loudly proclaimed, "Nations and people of every language, this is what you are commanded to do. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, or all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will be immediately thrown into the blazing furnace." So right there he lays down the law. If you don't worship the image I set up, you will be killed. So the Jews already know what they're getting into when he sets this image and puts them before it. So let's continue to read. Therefore, as soon as they heard the sound of the horn and other instruments, all the nations of people of every language fell down and worshipped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. At this time, some of the astrologers came forward and denounced the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "May the king live forever. Your Majesty has issued a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, and all kinds of music must fall down and worship the image of gold, and that whoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a blazing furnace. For there are some Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They pay no attention to you, your Majesty. They neither serve your gods nor worship the image that you have set up." Furious with rage, Nebuchadnezzar summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods, nor the image of gold that I have set up? Now when you hear all of the kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?" He's mocking God. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him. And you guys, this I have to stop and tell you, this is where this really stood out to me. Give me the even if title. So it says, King Nebuchadnezzar. This is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego talking to the king. King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve can deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from it, from your Majesty's hand. But even if he doesn't, we want you to know, your Majesty, we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold that you have set up. So again, They say to him, "Our God can deliver us, our God will deliver us, but even if he doesn't, we still serve him." That's what got me. That's faith in a situation of certain death before a king who's ready to kill them. And Nebuchadnezzar is furious. And I'm going to skim through some of these verses here, but Nebuchadnezzar says, all right, so you guys won't worship me. I'm outraged by this. So what he does is he orders the fire to be heated. I think it's 7 times higher than usual. Let's see, it was 7 times higher than usual. It was so hot that the men carrying Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego up to the furnace died putting them in there. And so they placed them in the furnace to burn. And then Nebuchadnezzar, he looks into this furnace and he says, "Didn't we tie up 3 men and put them in there?" And the guard says, "Yeah, we did. We put Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in there." And the king goes, leapt to his feet. He's amazed and he says, "Well, if there was 3, I certainly see 4 men now. There's 4 men walking around this fire. They're unbound and unharmed. And the 4th one looks like a son of God." That's Nebuchadnezzar's words. He's amazed looking in this furnace at these 3 men not burning, and a 4th that looks like the Son of God. So then Nebuchadnezzar approaches the blazing furnace and shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they just walk out of the fire. Everybody's amazed and they crowd around them. They saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies. Not even a hair was singed on their heads, it says. And then Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise be to God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel to rescue his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's commands and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore I decree that people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces and their houses be turned into piles of rubble, for no other God can save in this way." What a powerful reading, right? It really shows the faith of these 3 men who already know that if they don't bow, they'll be thrown to a furnace and face certain death. And then even given a second opportunity from the king of their land who's taken them, they say, "We can't and won't worship you." And that just feels a lot like what we're going through, right? The whole world's falling apart in so many ways, and it's so easy to conform with what everybody around you is doing. But you see, these guys had it right. Instead of conforming to what everybody was doing and what was easy to get by, they decided that they were going to follow the one true God, and that whether it brought them persecution or harm, that was the way they were going to go. They said, even if, right? So yeah, my God can save me. My God will save me. But even if he doesn't, he's still God. He's still worthy. More worthy than any of this. And that's the attitude I want to have, because you guys, they lived it. It wasn't a big show to them. They didn't use this as a stage to give their 2 cents about a situation. They simply lived out their faith. And them living out their faith liberated the people around them to see the power of God in their lives. I don't know about you, church, but sometimes I just think to myself, man, what would it be like if I actually lived my life sold out for God in such a way that it liberated the people around me? What if I was so dedicated to God that people didn't have to ask me, I didn't have to give a speech. They saw how radical my life was changed, that they just wanted to know Jesus. They just saw my life and wanted to see this power of God in their own lives. What if we lived like that? What if we prayed without worrying about who would hear us, who was around us, right? Loudly at the restaurant so all can hear. What if we loved our neighbor truly as we love ourselves? Not just a, "Hey, how you doing?" Not just love our nice neighbor, but also loved our selfish neighbor, our lying neighbor, our stealing neighbor, our needy neighbor, our homeless neighbor. If we truly lived out that book, man, people would be radically changed by seeing the radical change in us. And that's what we saw with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you guys. men's lives who were so dedicated to God. They knew that he could save them. He knew that God would save them. But even if he didn't, they were okay with it. They were okay with it because they knew that he was God. So, church, I hope that has a big impact in your lives. And I hope you ask yourself that question of, how can I be more godly? How can I be more dedicated? Not just wave a book in somebody's face, not just get political on Facebook or give my rant of why you're wrong and I'm right, but live it out in a way where everybody around you says they have something in their lives that's true. And I want to be a part of that. I want that in my life. I love spending these weeks with you guys, these weekly devotionals, and I hope you guys will continue to watch. It's been a huge inspiration in the middle of my week. I appreciate Pastor Dave putting this together and asking me here, and I hope you guys have a great week, and can't wait to meet together again. I miss you all. See ya.